Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 44 of the Board Game Specialist. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And this week, we're going to be doing a recap of the Kefcon weekend, because that was happening just weekend, and both me and Carla had been so excited about attending. Unfortunately, one of us didn't get to go. So I came down with the stomach flu. And actually, it was funny because my son was sick with the stomach flu first. And then he was like, oh my God, I'm not feeling well. So he stayed home on Thursday. And I'm like, really? Are you just trying to stay out of school? And then I started feeling sick that night. And then on Friday, and I'm like, okay, I believe you. And it's just, you got to stay home. Like, again, I was like, oh, you kidding me?
Yeah, that's awful.
Luckily we had the stepkids were over that weekend, and I think Lee and Lily felt bad for me, so we played a ton of games. And then, like, it's tradition in our household, every time I take the empty bottles in at the bottle depot, we go and spend that money on board games. So we went and bought board games as well. So I have my not Kefcon weekend. And then, but I mean, obviously, we're not going to talk this week about the games we've played, since that's what this episode is going to be about. But Carla, tell us, how was the weekend and what did you end up buying while you were there?
Oh, it was an awesome weekend. Sorry, Mel, to say that, but it was so fun. It was a nice little facility, very cozy, had like a fireplace. I think it held maybe around 70, 80 people, and there was mostly maybe around 50, 60 there at the most. So it was just perfect. But I did attend the auction. I actually was one of the auctioneers at this one. So
that's
I
right.
had traded off with the girl. So there was a few things in the auction that I want to buy. So I got my friends, Ashley and Cherry, to bid for me. And it's funny because this one game came up that I totally missed. I didn't see. It was in Shrink, and it was called Valparaiso. And I look at it and I'm like, I'm looking at them. I'm trying to give them like clues, like bid. And they're like, what does she want us to do? What? So they start kind of bidding, like, do I do this? And it was an in-shrink game, and I got it for $11.
Nice.
Well, they got it for me for $11.
Well, yeah.
And I don't know how I didn't see it, but this was a game that I had kind of tossed back and forth before, because only for the fact that it's from the same designers as Rococo and Tungaroo.
Oh, okay.
And so this was an earlier game, so I had thought about it and then kind of looked into buying it, and it was, it's like a $50, $60 game. So I'm like, oh, do I take a chance on a game that doesn't have a whole lot of great reviews, but it's kind of kept under the rug, sort of. So for $11, I gotta try it.
Yeah.
It's in Shrink, right? So I also they also bid for me on Sierra West. So this is just kind of a Western themed game, but it has some really cool mechanics, like a cascading mechanic of, you build up, I think, your ranch or your town or something, and then these resources kind of cascade down, I believe, like when you collect things. I'm not even sure, but it's had actually really good reviews. This one's kind of a hidden gem, so I got that one for $20. And then there was another one in there that they bid for me. It's a cooperative game, and it's by Tim Fowers, and it's called Now Boarding. So it's about these, you're trying to like connect flights for people and fly them and pick up people, but it's in real time.
Oh, did you get that one?
Yeah, I got it for
that's exciting.
$10 I got that one. And that's like a $50, $60 game too. So I was so happy about the things I did get there. I did not end up selling any of mine at the auction because we had reserve prices, like everybody had a reserve price, and it wasn't enough people, I think, that they just didn't go, and like a lot of the games did not go. People didn't want to bid on them, it's totally fine. I'll sell them somewhere else. But there was just a couple more that I got. They had P. Mediway, the game store in Edmonton, which is an awesome game store. They have awesome prices, awesome customer service, just lovely people that work there. They had a booth set up, and I kind of walked around. They had some great games there, but a lot of them I already had, or friends have them or whatnot. But they had In the Hall, the Mountain King. And so I looked at it. I'm like, oh, is that the Kickstarter version? And they're like, yeah. And so I asked how much, and it was $69.95, I believe. And I'm like, really? Like on Board Game Bliss, this game is $120.
Wow,
It's almost
wow.
half the price. I'm like,
And Kickstarter.
really? Are you sure that's the price? Yeah. And like,
Are
it
you
didn't
sure?
have expansion, but it was like it's like all the game trays and the nice upgraded bits, metal coins.
Nice.
So I'm like, I felt bad buying it almost. And then,
Oh my God.
I'm like, you sure that's the price? So I bought it. And so I've opened it up. I haven't learned it yet, but it's just
It's
awesome.
a fun one.
Everything fits in there. Oh yeah, and you've played it, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. But you guys should check out that store. I think they do sell online as well.
Yeah,
It's
Pimetowe.
Really, yeah, Pimetowe.
Yeah.
I never say it right, but I also got to pick up 2 games that I had bought in Edmonton, and then people either delivered them there or like Arsene had held one for me, and one was called Santa Maria. And so this is an older Euro that I've wanted to find for a long time, and I found it from one of his friends.
Nice.
And I got, so I got that in the expansion. And so he held it for me. I got to pick that one up. And then I bought this one kind of on a whim. It's called Bird Watchers. Now it was a Kickstarter. This isn't the Kickstarter version, but there's not a whole lot of difference between the two. But some people have compared it to Wingspan, and there's a few that thought it was better than Wingspan. And I love Wingspan, so I'm like, I gotta see this. He was selling it for $20, and it's like a $38 game. So I'm like, even if I try it and not like it, I can resell it or whatever. But so I bought that, and he brought it to me there, and I have tried it out, and it's really good. It's got like some really cool mechanics, and it's not like Wingspan at all, so it definitely has a spot in my collection, and I'll talk about it in another episode. But yeah, so those. Oh, there was one more thing. Arsene was like handing out a few like free games, and I had just said, well, can I just pay you for this one? Because he didn't end up giving away these little freebies, and it was the expansion to Medium. He goes, here, take them. And so I got 2 of them, and Mel has the game Medium, so we each got a free little expansion to Medium, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and so that's what I got from Kefcon. What about you? What did you purchase on your with your bottle?
Well, even though I wasn't there, I did participate in the auction at Kefcon.
That's right.
And Ashley bid on it because Arsene had posted some of the games that were going to be on there, and one of them was Battle Lore. And Battle Lore is like Memoir 44, which is one of my most favorite games, but it's fantasy themed. And I was like, oh my God, I want this one so bad. So then I ended up getting that one for about $30, but it's like Battle Lore, and then there's 2 expansions with it. And I opened it when it got here, and then like just the amount of minis, and then like it's gonna be so amazing. Good. And it does look a lot like Memoir 44. But it has like a magics and spells element to it, right? So I'm so excited to give that one a try. We took our bottles in and went to Three Hills. So it was my first time going to Three Hills Books. I mean, I had purchased from them online before. And it's such a neat little store. So there is some books. There's a lot of like toys and Legos and that sort of stuff. And then the back room is all board games. So I ended up buying the Don't Llama card game there.
Is it the dice
I had
game?
played it. Sorry?
It's a dice version of Llama?
No, it's a card version.
Oh,
it's the same one. They just kind of republished it, and they're calling it Don't Llama instead of just Llama. So I bought that there. I had played this one with Cherry before. And it's such a great, simple, straightforward game that's a lot of fun. I ended up buying a new version of Love Letter as well. Our version of Love Letter, one of the cards getting a bent on the corner of the card, so you know who's a handmaid. Yeah. So I was like, oh, we need a new version. So we ended up buying this one, and it has like the neater tokens. It's not just a little cube. So
I had a Love Letter game, and my dog chewed one of the cards, so it's got a big teeth print on it. I'm like,
I mean, you could buy like those sleeves that have like a colored back, so that it would, So I did end up kind of doing that, and then donating my regular Love Letter to the local library here in Acme. I actually got rid of some games, and I've donated them to the library. I'm trying to create more gamers here. So, but anyways, so I got Love Letter, the new version. I got Fort, so I'm really excited to try that one.
That's a fun one.
I got Nuts for Mutts, which is a Grandpa Beck game. I kind of want to try to get that whole series. So now I have, I think, 3 of them. So, because I have Nuts for Mutts, I have Cover Your Assets, and I have Skull King.
Oh, you have to get Antiquity Quest. That's a good
I
one.
want that one.
It's like
yeah,
a canasta version, basically. It's
exactly.
canasta, but
So
with
there's like,
theme.
I want to eventually have them all. So right now I have 3. And then we also got Back to the Future, Back in Time. And I mean, like, I buy a lot of these like movie themed just because we watch these movies as a family, and then it's like one that is easier to get to the table with, Nick and Lee, and it's kind of like, oh, what? And this one comes with the DeLorean in there, so you have the card. And I was kind of watching videos on this, and it looks cool because you got to move the car along, and you got to try to get the parents to fall in love, and every round, like, the pictures will fade. And if the picture fades away completely, you've lost. But you also need to get the car in position to get struck by lightning and make sure that when this happened, the parents have fallen in love, but Biff is in the picture and he keeps trying to mess things up and he pushes them apart. It looks hilarious. I cannot wait to try this. And then also, while you guys were at Kefcon, I had a friend there give me a copy of Zombies. Because the Zombies copy I had purchased at Gobfest didn't have the minis. So he gave me his copies of Zombies. So now I have the minis to play the game. So that's what I ended up getting throughout the weekend. So honestly, even though I didn't get to go, I scored pretty good. It's probably a good thing I wasn't at that auction as well. Because I would have bought all those games at dinner.
All those ones that no one bought would have ended up in your...
That would have been
It's funny. Your friend, our friend, Richard Bruce?
Yes.
He was buying games like crazy. I yelled out, "You're the Mel of the auction." He kind of looked at me like, I don't know if he got what I meant, but...
Oh my God. The sad thing is probably a lot of people did.
I think a few were like, yeah. But some were like, what is she talking about? And I'm like, I didn't really realize my audience when I said it. I'm like, probably only 4 people here got that joke.
Well, yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, he got a few really good buys though. So.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, because he was posting pictures of them and some of them looks amazing. Yeah.
Oh, and there was one other neat thing that Arson handed out these gifts to some of his longtime teachers from his conventions.
Oh, nice.
And he handed out these golden chopsticks. And so because he uses
a
chopstick to do the teach, right? And so I've been toying with the idea of having a convention retreat kind of in Red Deer, and I was telling the girls that I'm gonna do chopsticks, but just plain ones because we were just still
we're still beginning stage here. We're not golden level yet.
Yeah. Or paint them black or something that is.
It's funny.
But yeah, it was really cute. It came in a nice little box, and he was so happy. He got one.
I didn't realize that's where they came from. That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Perfect. So we're going to be this episode talking about our top 9 games that we played during the Kefcon weekend and that could make it to Kefcon weekend. So
yeah, Kefcon and not Kefcon.
That's right. Before we get started on that, Carla, any honorable mentions?
I have 2, only because one of them is Everdell, one of my, I won't say if it's my favorite still because that list is coming up soon.
It's going to be coming up, yeah.
But one of my top games, and I taught this game, so I had a blast playing it, but I didn't include on this list only because I was teaching, and I did have an awesome time with it, but I talk about it so often. But there was one thing I have to mention. I was teaching, I don't know if you know Joe, now I don't know his last name, he's Arson's friend. He's always with him.
Yeah, I do.
So
Joseph, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I just called him Joe. Maybe that's what was on his name tag, but... Anyway, so
that fits a lot easier.
He wasn't signed up to play, but you were going to play it, so there was an open spot, right? Because you weren't there. And he's like, "Oh, is there a room for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, have a seat." So I taught them all. There was 2 guys and a lady, and he just learned the game. And as we were playing, and for those of you that know how to play Everdell, we were in the first season, and we play our cards, play them, and then keep going, and everyone goes into their next season at different times than everybody else. So we're all in our second or third season, and I look over, he has 10 cards already in his tableau, and he's still in his first season. I'm like, what? And I was like playing the game because I don't want to like,
Yeah.
if it's people's first time playing, I don't want to just like clean house, right? So I look over and I'm like, geez, I better pick it up here because I'm gonna like, not that I care to lose to people, but you know, I was sort of not going hard, really thinking on my cards, and then I look over, I'm like, wow, look at this guy. I have never seen that, having like 10 cards before you get into your second season, because you usually the first season you have such a hard time, you know, getting resources, but he did awesome and it was a great time. Next time I think I would just teach so that I can focus more helping people. Obviously he didn't need help, but you know, just to make sure everybody's understanding it and whatnot. And another one that I want to mention that didn't make my top 9, but it was a really interesting game. Bernie brought it, our friend Bernie from Calgary, and it was a card game called Regency. Now, we only played it the one time, so it's hard to get a judge on it, and my other 2 friends did not like it. But it was it's really neat. You just have a hand of cards, and in front of you is these different like royal type characters that you're trying to collect. You need one of each of them to win the game to put around your tableau, and I think it's 6 in total. It seems like it would be very quick, and it could be a very quick game or it could be a longer game. And all you're doing is playing these cards, either trying to buy these characters or use the ability on the card to like maybe take one from another person or somehow like stop other people from getting them before you. So it's just one of those games where, you know, you just have to figure out, okay, do I spend them to buy, or do I, oh, he's got 5 already, I better like take that card from him. And it's just one of those like simple rules, but you know, like a tricky strategy game. And it was really fun. Bernie was excited for us to play that, and I really liked it. But those are my honorable mentions. What about you?
Yeah, actually, you know what? I was going to, for honorable mention, talk about Love Letter, because we ended up playing Lovecraft Letter, which is like the Cthulhu theme of Love Letter, and the Infinity Gauntlet Love Letter, which I actually purchased that weekend, which is the Marvel version of Love Letter. Yeah. And I also have Jabba's Palace, which is the Star Wars version of Love Letter. Yeah. So we kind of had like a Love Letter marathon and played all these different ones. Well, we didn't play the Jabba's Palace one that weekend, but we played all the other ones, and it was so neat. With the Infinity Gauntlet, it's interesting because one person plays a Thanos, and they have to collect the Infinity Stones, and everybody else is just trying to stop them. With the Lovecraft Letter, is like every card that you play gets discarded and you put in front of you, but they'll be like sane or insane kind of symbol on it, and if you put an insane card, well, now you're considered insane. So when you play some of the future cards, there's there can be like a regular action or the insane action, and then you would do the insane action. And when you they have these little poker chips, so when you win, you would get a poker chip, but depending on the state of your mind, you either win a regular poker chip or you win a insane poker chip. And in order to win, you need to have either 2 sane ones or 3 insane ones to win, right? So if you're like, okay, I've been winning at sane, but now I keep winning as insane, and so I need more. Like, it was interesting, and I think probably so far the Lovecraft Letter was my favorite out of the whole series of Love Letters. Awesome. It was really neat. All right, but that was my honorable mention. So let's get started on our list. Carla, what's your number 9?
All right, my number 9, I got to play on a Saturday night. So this was later on, around 9 o'clock. And this is called Hippocrates. This is made in 2022 by Elaine Oban. Now, this I had kind of considered backing on Kickstarter. I think, well, a year ago, obviously, it would have came out just this year. And this is a beautiful production game. The one reason that I had wanted to back it was it was from the same designer, one of the designers from Troyes, the game Troyes, which I really like. But this one is about ancient Greece, where you start with a doctor, Hippocrates, and then you try to obtain more doctors because you're trying to heal patients. So on your turn, you are drafting different patients that you will need to treat. And in order to treat them, you need to have different types of medicine. There's different colored bottles of medicine. But you also need certain doctors to treat them, because it's kind of like a little puzzle. Like, your doctor card on different sides of the hex will have different bottles that they will be able to treat those type of medicine to patients. So you have to put that patient up to that side. So like it might need purple, blue, and green. So if this doctor can treat purple, you'll stick it there, and then you're going to need green and blue from another doctor, and so you'll stick it on the other side of the hex. So it's kind of like a cool little puzzle. But you do have to pay for your doctors. So you can't just get, grab a whole bunch of doctors. Plus they're expensive. You have to pay them. So it's just, trying to balance getting doctors, paying them, trying to get enough potion or medicine to heal these patients. And then once they're healed, you flip them over and get a bunch of points. Once the doctor has treated someone from each side of their medicine bottles, they will retire and they'll give you points. And there's this reputation track that if you move up higher, your doctors are less expensive, because at the beginning they're $3 a doctor. If you move up, it's $2, and then if you get to the top, it's like you only pay $1 per doctor. It was really interesting. Like it's like the production of this game is unreal. This board took up a whole, those convention size rectangle tables.
Yeah,
it was like 3/4 of that table it took up.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, like it's huge. And then you need spot for to build out your little tiny, puzzles. But it was really neat. Like it was, I don't know if I would buy this one. I would definitely play it again. Like it was very interesting, but it has had not the greatest reviews. And I think people were just expecting so much more because it was an expensive, high production game that sometimes when it turns out to just be like a medium game, they're like, so sometimes I think does publishers go overboard on the light medium games because people expect so much more depth to them when it's a really good game, but the expectation was so high on it. So yeah, but I enjoyed it, and it was great to play it for free, right? Because
yeah, right.
I didn't have to
just
pay
try it
the
out.
$150 or whatever it was on the Kickstarter for the Kickstarter price. But yeah, that's my number 9, Hippocrates.
Wonderful. My number 9 is Ingenious Challenges. So this is a Reiner Knizia game. It was published in 2010 and it's by Fantasy Flight. Now, I had played Ingenious, which I really like. It's kind of like a puzzly tile laying game that has like these tiles that have 2 shapes on it, and then you kind of put it all together. But I had purchased the Ingenious Challenges, and I had never played it yet. I assumed it was a dice version of it, but it's more than that. There's dice. You could do the dice version of the challenge, or the card version, or a tile version. So I was like, really? So me and Lily ended up playing the dice version of it, which was really interesting because everybody has their own sets of dice, and then you roll your dice and you can kind of re-roll what you want, or when you re-roll, you have to roll everything. So you re-roll until you kind of got what you want. And then you score whatever matches the other player's dice. So it's like, okay, well, I rolled the green symbol. You had 2 green symbols, so that means I get to score the green symbol 2 times. So I can move my track of the green symbol up by 2, and so on. And the board is divided into 3 sections, or I guess 4 sections. You got the starting, and then like the first 3 space, and then the next 3 space, or so on, right? But what happens is you cannot move from like the starting space into the second space after that until all of them are onto the first start, like past the starting space. Okay. And then you can't go into the final section until all of the different colors have made it into the middle section. So you gotta try to concentrate on the ones to make sure you don't have any kind of laggers behind, because you have to reach all a certain level before you can go to the higher level. And then if you ever get to the very final space with one of your color, you get to shout out Ingenious, and you get to do an extra roll. And then it's whoever gets I think it was whoever gets 3 of their colors into the final stage area wins the game. So it was really interesting. I really enjoyed that dice version of Ingenious. And I mean,
I've never seen that. Where did you find that?
I bought it at Melcon, I think, from Paul Saxberg. So it's a 2010, so it's an older game, right? This is 12 years old already. But it was really good. Yeah, no, I was
Ingenious
really,
Challenges. That's what
yeah,
it's
it
called.
was good. I really enjoyed that one. So the dice version was just great. And then you have like these pegs that falls into the hole, so it's neat the way it all comes together. So it was a lot of fun. And that was my number 9.
Cool. My number 8 is Dinogenics. This is made in 2019 by Richard Crean. Now, I had wanted to try this for a while because it's always compared to Dinosaur Island. And it has a different... this one does feel more like Jurassic Park, the game, I would say. It has a way different color palette than Dinosaur Island. Dinosaur Island's very bright and pink and purple and like your fluorescent colors. Whereas this one's more black and like darker colors. Now it was interesting. We had a 5-player game, so we were at full player count, and you have this player board in front of you that is like dual layered, and then you start off with some fences that you build out however you want at the beginning. You start with 4 fences. You don't start out with having any dinosaurs. You do have cards in your hand and some money, and you have 3 workers, I believe, you start with. You can get more throughout the game. That you do get one at a certain round. Everybody gets it. You don't have to acquire it. And so there's all these worker placement spots that you go on the board, and you'll take turns each placing a person. And so say I want to go, there's spots where you can get more cards, which the cards are all dinosaurs. Or one type of card is dinosaurs, but it's also, they have a credit amount in it. So if I want to build a dinosaur, say I want to build a Bronchosaurus, and say it's worth 4, I have to have 4 worth Bronchosaurus cards in my hand. So then I can lay them down and build one, and then I usually just keep one card to the side so that I can remember what I have and how much it needs to be fed. So I have to have the proper enclosure for it. So it'll say like a 1 or 2 square enclosure. And then I'll put that in there, grab the little meeple. She had the Kickstarter version. So it was just, all the real meeples of the different types of dinosaurs, the metal coins and, the fences, the beautiful fences and everything. So
Nice.
Anyway, you put this dinosaur in your enclosure. Now you could put them anywhere if you want. But then you take the risk of a rampage at the end of the round. If your dinosaur is not fed properly or enclosed properly, you have to roll these dice. And there is a chance you'll be okay, but it's a very slight chance. I think it's 1 out of the 6 pips. So I don't think any of us risked the rampage. We always had proper, enclosures and everything that we needed. And there was other cards you could go and get, these other cards that were like really powerful cards that you could play, but you would have to take a turn to go get the cards, and then you'd have to take another worker placement to spend the cards. But some of them were like really take that cards. And so this game I liked, but it had one issue for me, which there's a lot of games that have this, and it's it's the fact that if you start in last place, it doesn't have a catch-up mechanism. It's basically you start last and you have to crawl your way back up to everybody else. And I really hate that in games. I don't know. And for some reason, I always am in the last person. It's like, oh, it's one of these. Of course it is. Because then there's this reputation track, which you start last on, of course. And you have to build up because then you'll never get forward in turn order, right? So starting last, you have to claw your way back up 5 spots in order to ever be first, in order to get, and it's not just, the worker placement spots, it's the visitors that'll come visit you. So the first place gets all these visitors, then the second, and then third, and then down to the 5th, you get like 1 or 2. So you basically have to spend a whole round getting to first place, which is, to me, it drives me nuts because it's like, why do I have to work one whole round to catch up to everybody while everybody else is building all their stuff, right? I don't like that in games. And I found a few like that, and it drives me nuts. I don't know why there are other games that do that, but then they have like a catch-up mechanism where basically you're last, but you start first the next round, or you are on top of like the reputation track so that it's easier for you to get there. Like there's just some things that designers do that even it out, right? So that just leaves me a bad taste, and I wish that it didn't. I mean, I'm glad I was the one to do it so I can realize it in the game, because then I know, oh, it's one of these games where you basically, I guess if you're playing with someone who knows the game really well and no one else does, you should start last. So you start with kind of like a disadvantage because, you know, you don't get the huge advantage. But so I don't know, it really soured me on the game. But the game was, other than that part of it, like the worker placement spots, the building your dinosaurs, there was also these little tiles that you could build, like hotels to put more visitors in, or different things that would give you player powers, which was really neat. So I think it was actually a really neat game, but I was just so sour on it because it's like, oh, why do I have to work harder than everybody else to just get even? Like, I just don't like that. But anyway, so that was my number 8, Dinogenics.
Sounds interesting for sure. The bit sounds like it would have been a really neat version to see, but yeah. All right, my number 8 is Corinth. This is a game that was published in 2019. It's by Sebastien Pochon, and it's published by Days of Wonders. Now, I've played this game before, a long time ago. Well, obviously not that long ago, since it was published in 2019. So I guess some point in 2019. And I couldn't remember anything about it. I know it's a roll and write, and that's all I could remember. And I unboxed this one on my YouTube channel recently, and I'm looking at all the components. I'm like, I remember nothing about this. So we played it this weekend, and it was because it has a board that has all these lines, like all these different colored lines on this board. And then you have your sheet that you kind of mark everything, and you can see all the different kind of categories that matches these lines. And I'm like, okay, what? And it comes with a lot of dice. I think it has like 10 dice or something like that. Most of them are white, and then you got a few yellow ones. And what happens is you will roll all of the white dice. Now, you can spend some coins to add yellow dice, or you can unlock some yellow dice as well on your board. That would allow you to roll a yellow dice as well. But you would roll all the dice, and you put them in grouping of what the pips came up. And automatically, the lowest number of pips, so if you rolled 3 ones, those 3 ones are going to go under the gold at the bottom of that board. And then whatever you roll, that's the highest. So if you rolled 1 6, and that one goes at the very top, and it's the top line of the resources on your, or category on your sheet. And then with anything else, depending on what you got, like if you ended up getting from 1 to 6, then every location is going to get a set of dice. But you might not have gotten any 3s and any 2s. So then you would kind of assign the 6 and the 5 and the 4 and the 1s in that case, if you didn't roll any 2s or 3s. So, and then what happened is on your turn, you will select one category that has dice on it. It says, okay, well, I'm kind of hoping to get gold, but there's only 1 gold dice there, or 1 dice for gold there. And there's like 4 dices for this category. It would make sense I would get that, because then I would get to check off 4 of them here. I wasn't really concentrating on that, but I will. So I'll take these. So then you take the dice and you remove them from the board, and you would check off in that category. Then the next person will look at what's left, and then they will select one of the categories with what dice is on there, and then so on until everybody's kind of selected. Now, if it ever gets to the point where it's your turn and there's no dice left, in the top corner, there's this little map thing where you can move your guy around this, you can move around this map, and it unlocks and gives you different benefits. So, but the thing is, if you move by 3, you have to kind of cross off 2 and then circle the third one, so you get to activate the third one. But what you've walked over is eliminated. You can never unlock those going forward. So it's kind of neat to try to get as much as you can. So then you can do that instead, and it does give you that benefit. But and then the gold will give you points, and then depending on how many things you've created in the other categories, the first person to kind of create all the buildings get the bonus for that as well. And it was really neat. Like, it's a roll and write, so you gotta love roll and write. I bet you Ashley probably wouldn't like this one, but
I love it.
But it was a really neat neat game with assigning the dice and then kind of selecting which one you wanted to do that round. That was cool. And I had forgotten all about this game. I had played it the one time, and I was early on in my kind of gaming life, so it was like I couldn't remember how it worked, but it was great. So that's my number 8, Corinth.
Awesome. Yeah, this game is actually made from a board game. Like, it started out a board game. Now I can't remember what it's called. It's a different word. But then they made it into a rule, right? But
Neat.
this is the game that Rodney Smith taught me at that Edmonton convention that I did figure out the name of it this weekend. They were talking about a convention. I was like, oh, was Rodney Smith there? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, what is it called? And I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't.
Nice.
Like, they haven't had it since then, so we haven't missed out. But yeah, this is a good roll and write. I really liked it. Good choice. My number 7 is a filler game that we played a couple fillers, not as many as usual at conventions, because this was mostly like heavier games that they had being taught there. But we had brought a few of our own, and this one Cherry had brought. This is called Break the Cube. Now, this is made in 2022 by Ryohei Kurashi. I hope I'm saying that right. This, I believe, is a sequel. I don't know if it's the same designer as Break the Code, but this one is the cube. So you have these different polyomino 3D shapes in front of you, and depending on the player count, you will just try to guess the person to your left, and they will guess the person, so on. So you have the colors of... You have like 3, say you could either do a 3 shape or a 4 shape. I think we did 3. So I'd have 3 colors of one shape, and then the person next to me would have those same colors that I have, but then they'd plus have 3 different colors that they're building. And the player to my right will have my colors because they're trying to guess mine, and then so on. So you have 6 different colors, 3 you're building your own, the other 3 you're guessing the other person's. And then you have this grid in front of you, and it has like a 1 to 9, like a telephone dial number. That's how it's situated. And then letters all around it. So on your turn, you will say, okay, what do you see in A? So if A is on the outside, you will look, and you will kind of be looking straight at your however you organized your shapes, and you will say, okay, I see red, blue, and blank. So that means starting from the bottom, you see from that perspective, I see this color, and then there's nothing on top. So you write that down on your little sheet knowing, okay, that's what you see from there. But if you asked a number, say I asked like number 7, it's looking down at the little sculpture. So you're looking down, and it might say, I only see blue. Or you might see nothing, meaning there's nothing in that square. So you're just trying to deduct what this shape is. Well, now I have played this once before. I played this late at night. It was our last game of the night. Me and Cherry were just playing games, and I played it. And I don't know if my brain cannot handle these like 3D games at night, but I literally could not do it. Like, I was asking her questions, and then she's like, giving me the answers, and I'm like, there's no other solution. It's impossible. What you've told me and the information I got, it is literally impossible that it can be anything other than what I think. And she's like, you just need more information. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's nothing else. And so I'm like I was almost concerned, like, why will my brain not open up to this?
It's funny, sometimes your mind just won't think that way. Like, it's just...
And I was like, I've had some worries about Alzheimer's. My memory is very bad, and it's funny, but it's not, like, that's why I talk about I really want to play these games to work on my memory. But this day we played it, I think it was first thing in the morning. Maybe it was after a few games, but I totally got it. It all made sense to me, and I'm like, thank God. Like, I was so worried that my brain was shut off that way. It must just be at night it just starts to like, nope, sorry, we're not going there. But yeah, I actually did it. I found the solution, and I was so excited. I was like, Cherry, we can play this game again, because I was ready to be like, nope, I'm not playing this anymore. But yeah, it was awesome. I was so excited that I could actually figure it out, and It's a neat game though. But it is a sequel to this game, Break the Code, which is a number one where you're trying to figure out a number code, which I have tried on Board Game Arena, and I think every time we've played it, it's come to an even stand that neither of us could get it. So it's tricky as well, but there's no 3D dimension involved. It's just guessing numbers. But it's really neat as well. So if you if you want to try that one, you can try that on BGA. But this Break the Cube is really neat. And it's a newer game. Yeah, 2022 this year. Should give it a try. That's my number 7, Break the Cube.
Cool. My number 7 is one that I purchased over the summer. And I knew nothing about, but it looked really cute. The box has flowers on it. And it's just a really kind of, I don't know, like cutesy. It looks very feminine, right? Cutesy, feminine looking game. But it's called Sacred Rites. And it was published in 2020. It's created by Julia Korwer and Juno Nato by Story Machine Games. And I knew nothing about it. And then I got opening it because I did an unboxing on this one as well. And I was opening it and reading the back. And it's about trying to sneak into a cult. And I'm like, really? It's like, this is such a cute game to be a cult-related game. And, you know, my mind, when I'm thinking cult, I automatically think Cthulhu, right? Like, that's what I've played most. I was like, okay. And I was like, it was so weird. Like, so, but it is cute. And it's like, has these envelopes. And you'll have an envelope that has, for every players that's playing, plus 2 extra envelope that on the back says outsider. Every other envelope has a little hole. And what's going to happen is on your turn, you're going to draw a card and you're going to slide it in your envelope and you're going to look. So you're either going to see what the word is or it's going to say outsider. And now if you're an outsider, you're trying to fake your way into this cult. If you're a cult member, you're trying to vote, kind of get these people out, right? You want only just true believers to be there at the sacred rites. So, and then you kind of pass this card along so everybody gets a look at it or looks at their outsider on their envelope, and then you put the card away. Then everybody gets a little wooden, I don't know, it's like a wooden tile that says tradition on one side, and everybody gets another one of those, and then you flip it over, and it has a category of some sort. So then you'll be taking turns saying, and then let's say my category was smell. So I'll be like, the smell of our sacred rite is, and then you got to come up with a description of some sort or clue. Mm-hmm. Now, it could be a word, it could be a movement, it could be a poem. Like, it's just like you could do whatever you want, right? So I was like, okay. So then let's say it's like fresh. And then everybody else go like, ooh, fresh. And I kind of create that cult experience, I guess. It's so silly. But it was hilarious. We ended up playing this one like 3-4 times or so. Like, and then like Lee had the one, so he had the word. And then I was not an outsider, so I could see the word. The word is night. And Lee starts in his category is color, and he's like, the color of our sacred word is black, and we're like, ooh, black. And then everybody kind of goes around and gives a clue, and then at the end, once everybody's given a clue, you kind of put your finger and you point to who you think is an outsider. Now, there is enough cards that there may not be an outsider. Now, if you don't think there's any outsiders, you just point up to the ceiling. Or you point to another person. Now, if you're correct and who you're pointing to, you get 2 flowers. And the flowers are these like wooden flower tokens is how you keep track of points. If nobody's pointing at you, you gain 1 flower. If you are an outsider and you guess the word correctly, then you get extra flowers for that too. So obviously Lee wasn't an outsider in that one. So I'm pointing at Patrick. Patrick is not a good liar. So...
That's good.
So, I pointed at Patrick, but turns out Lee was an outsider. He had no idea what the word was. I was like, but you pick black. He's like, I pick black for everything. When it comes to okay. So I was just like, huh. But it was just like, it just worked out so well in that particular case, right? So I was like, okay. Like,
that kind of sounds like the game Chameleon.
Yeah, well, like... I have Chameleon and I've played it, so it has definitely similarities. It's a little different in ways, but yeah, it was funny. This one I find is probably easier to play
Yeah.
But it was, it is kind of that style, and it was hilarious. And then there's like a little drawstring bag in there with like embossed or embroidered flowers on it and stuff, and it looks super neat. I have no idea what the bag is for. Like, it's like, what do you put in here? I don't know what this is for. So I don't know if it's in case you want your game out of the box, which why would you do that? But anyways, I have no idea. It comes with a cute draw bag that has
Maybe
mystery
just
use
around
and
in that, I guess.
I guess. I don't know. Like, really? But anyways. So, but it was neat. And yeah, we played this one lots. So that was my number 7, Sacred Rites.
Yeah, I had just watched that unboxing of yours because I'd never heard of this game. I'm like, what is this? I just want to see, but had no idea what it was going to be like. So cool.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 6 is another filler that we played. Ashley brought this. This was a game we'd both been kind of searching for, used, because it's ridiculous, the price on Amazon, and you can't find it in most game, like on online stores or in stores or anything. And it's an older one. It's a Little Flower Shop, made in 2018 by Steve Finn. So it's kind of similar to like those Pencil First games. It's kind of the same line. Steve Finn has a part in those, but this was just his. So this is just a simple drafting game, but you do have a player board and you're building up these flowers in vases or like these hanging flowers. But anytime there's drafting in a game, I just love it, because you start with a hand of cards and you each will pick one and place it, and then usually you'll just pass it on and then everyone will pass you your deck. But this time you grab a new card from the stack and then you get rid of one. So it's kind of neat because you look and you're like, oh, they really need this flower. Goodbye. It's gone. And you put it face up in the discard so they know what you got rid of and they're like, you jerk. But it's so neat because it's super fast. There's 3 rounds. You're just going around drafting, trying to build up your vases. You can also sell to a customer. You might have a customer card that you have these ones sitting in your storage that you can't do anything with, and you don't want them there at the end of the game because they'll be worth negative, so you'll sell them to a customer to get money, and money is points, I believe, or maybe it's like a 3-to-1, 2-to-1. I can't remember because I didn't score the game. I had to take off for one of my taught games that I had to go to, but it's so neat and very pretty and just a cool, like, flower themed, beautiful, little, simple, fast game. It was awesome, and I'm glad she got it because we'll get to play it often. And it's one you could play, waiting for people. You could play this game, 2 people could play this game in probably 10 minutes or even less, but it's really neat. And that's Little Flower Shop, my number 6.
Nice. My number 6 is Port Royal. It was published in 2014 by Alexander Pfister, and it was published by Pegasus Spiel. And this is one that I had heard great things about, and then I watched some like videos on it, and it was just like I didn't quite understand how it worked. And I knew it was a push your luck game, but I didn't fully understand. So me and Lily ended up playing this one, and you basically have this big deck of cards that you shuffle, and it's kind of multi-use cards because the back of it has a gold coin, and then you start with 3 gold coins, so you just randomly take 3 cards from the top, and then that's your money. And then on your turn, you're going to flip a card over. Now, what you're trying to do is you're trying to reveal ships, because the more different colored ships you reveal, the more cards you can take from the middle. And then if you take one of the ship cards, there's gold on the top, so you would collect gold for it. There's also different characters that you could hire, and they will give you kind of abilities or resources, because you'll have cards that'll come up that are kind of like orders you're trying to fulfill, and if you fulfill them, then you would get points. And some of the characters are going to be worth points as well, so whoever has the most points at the end wins. But if you ever
it's
reveal...
It's a race to 12 points.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
So whoever. Yeah. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I've played
it was
this once
in my
now,
race
so.
games, remember?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but if you ever reveal a second ship of the same color, you bust, and that all goes away. So it's like okay, but it's like, what do you do? Like, do you take another one? And then there'll be some taxes cards that comes up that would kind of cause, if somebody has a lot of coins, they'd lose half of them. And so, but it was really neat. You know, it reminded me. No, this isn't the one that reminded me of that. Yes, it did. So no, so but it was neat. Like it was fun. And then yeah, like so you just kind of do you reveal one more? It's like, and then it's super cool when you get like I think it's fourth ship. That's like now you get to take bunch of cards. And I was like, great, now I take all this gold, and now that I have this gold, I can go and hire this guy that has all these resources, and like so it was really cool. I really enjoyed that one. It's simple game. You really got to make sure you shuffle well, mostly the first time because it's all So make a point of taking the time to shuffle your deck well when you're playing this one. But that was my number 6, Port Royale.
Yeah, that's such a good game. That used to be my husband's favorite for a while there. We had to play it all the time. He's like, okay, one more. One more. I beat him. One more. He'd win. Okay, we're good.
Okay, we're good.
But yeah, it's fun. And there's a couple little expansions that add a few things to it that are neat. And there's a cooperative one, and there's just all kinds of things. But it's fun. All right, well, my number 5, this is a new game to me, but a very old game. This is called Colloseum, made in 27 by Wolfgang Kramer and Marcus Lubke. Now, this one I had been looking forward to because I'd kind of looked to buy this game. I'd seen reviews, and it's kind of hard to find. I think it's out of print, and it kind of goes for a pretty penny, so I've sort of passed it up. So I'm like, I got to try this here because then I know if I want this game, and I do want this game. But it's got it's a certain audience for it. Now, this game has auctioning in it. You you start with this little Colosseum that will fit 2 spots in it, I believe. And you move these different pawns around the board. And some of them are just kind of plain pawns. I can't remember what they are. But then there's like these special colored ones. And if they ever end up in your Colosseum while you put on your show, which is a different phase, you get more points for them. But how you're putting on shows is at the first round of the game, there's this this area where you're buying these little cardboard, they're icons on them, and they are the things you need to put in your show. You have specific cards that say, okay, you need like 3 horses and the waves and say like a torch, and that's what you need. Now, if you don't have all of them, you'll just get less points. But if you have them all, then you're going to get these big points. So all these different icons are on these cardboard chips in the middle, and they come in 4 sections. So you might have like a group here, 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 and here. And so on your turn, you just choose one of the sections to auction off. And so you're like, okay, I want to auction this off. And you always have to start, I think the minimum is 8, and then you go around the table and bid for it. And everybody can see what you are trying to build. So you know what everybody wants. So you can just upbid it because you're like, I know they want that. So they're not getting it for that, which I did a few times. But then they're like, no thanks. And I'm like, damn it, I didn't want any of this. I just wanted you to pay more. So it happened a few times to all of us because we're just like, no, you're not. But you might be planning for a different auction, a different show in another round, because you have this card in front of you which shows you all the different types of shows you could put on. You do have to purchase those shows. So you have to purchase the card that shows all the things you need. So you might be like, okay, they don't need that, but what are they planning? What are they hoping to get? So you just go around, you auction these off. And then at the end, when everyone has gotten something, because if you win something, then the next time you can't participate in the auction. So you get all these things, and you do start with a bunch of them as well. So anyway, then it goes to the phase where you put on your show. The very beginning, you can upgrade your Colosseum. So you can make it bigger, or you can add different things that'll give you more points. I can't remember what those little things are called. Like you can add 5 points to one, or I think it's like more crowd, more people or something that are coming to watch your shows or something. But anyway, in the third phase, when you're putting on your show, you roll this dice, and then you get to move these pawns around. And you're trying to get as many people into yours as possible. There's different things that they can land on, and they'll give you these cool chips that will add to your show or let you re-roll the dice or do different things. But so once you get them in your show, then you add up like, okay, I have everything I need. So I get big points here. I have this +5 on my Colosseum. I have this I'm going to say governor in there. So he gives me an extra 5. And so you move up on the truck. So say my first show was worth like 15. I'd move up to 15 and then everyone would go and count their shows. Now, whoever had the most points compared to the least points, that person in last gets to take one of your tiles that you used for your show. So they could very well take this one that you were planning for the next show, right? They'll take it. But it's a kind of a cool mechanism. You know how I always say the last person? Well, this one helps because at least they could take something and take something away from the first player. So it kind of even grounds things. So you go around and I think there's 4 or 5 rounds of this and you build up. So the next show, say you got to 20, you don't get to add 20 points, you just move up to 20. And so you're just trying to build bigger and bigger and bigger shows. And it's just a really neat, auctioning and then there's also like a trading phase before you put on your show where you can like, okay, I'll give you 2 of these, kind of like in Chinatown where you're trading the tiles. But here you get to choose, like, the first player gets to do their trading first and then the second player does their trading. So you do it in a certain order, which is really neat. And I just found it really fun. I don't know that anyone at the table loved it. And there was 2 of the games going. Cherry played it. She didn't really like it, but I'm like, oh, I like this. And I think I think my family would like it because they really like Chinatown. If you're a fan of that one, I think you would probably like this one. And it was just one of those smooth, like, the mechanics are so well designed and it's like you can tell why it's still a good game. Made in 2007. That's like,
oh wow, yeah.
15 years old. Am I doing my math right? Yes. And so it's still out there and people are still playing it. And I definitely will be looking for this. I'm not going to pay the big price for it, but who knows? Maybe it'll be reprinted someday too. But that's my number 5, Colloseum.
Nice. My number 5 is Fantasy Realm. It's created by Bruce Glasgow and it was published in 2017 and it's a Whiz Kids game. And this one is, you know what? It reminded me a lot of Red Rising because you have, I can't remember, 7 cards. And on your turn, you'll draw a card and then discard a card. But each card is worth so many points. But then it'd be like, and there are different elements, but then it could be like, oh, for every, earth element you have in here, then it's going to be worth an extra this much. Or like, there's just different things that different ways they would score. Or it could be like, if you have this card and a fire card, well, then it's actually going to give you -30. And so you're trying to get your card to be in a combination that's going to give you as more point as you can. Now you can draw from the discard pile, so you'll have all the cards that get discarded. You could draw from that and then kind of add to it, and then, or you can draw from the face down deck and then just kind of add new cards into what's in play and then trying to create the combination that would work for you. Now what's really interesting is as soon as there's 10 cards in the discard pile, that's it, you score your hand. So then it was like, okay, I'm not ready, so I don't want to add to the discard pile. So I'm not going to draw from the deck, but then you're not going to draw anything new. So it has that interesting element. So I, oh no, what am I going to do? So it was neat. This is one that it was a lot of fun. It kind of reminded me, like I said, Red Rising and then, what's the word? Lost City a little bit, where you're kind of drawing what's being discarded and stuff. Right. So it was really neat. Right. Yeah, it was really neat. I really enjoyed this one. So that's my number 5, Fantasy Realm.
Yeah, so Red Rising, like Jamie Stegmaier made this, he quotes that he did like take the mechanism from Fantasy Realms. He loved the game Fantasy Realms. Nice. And so he's saying like in public that yes, is definitely like from this game that inspired me for this game. So he's not, claiming that he designed that mechanic because it's the same. But yeah, I love Fantasy Realms. It's basically combo the game. Like you're just trying to get combos. That's all you're doing. Yeah. So it's awesome. I love it. Good choice. My number 4 is Woodcraft, made in 2022 by Ross Arnold and Vladimir Suchi. This was one of my games that I've been so looking forward to coming out of Gen Con in Essen, and waiting for it to come here. A friend has it on pre-order and hoping it'll come soon, but it might be after Christmas. I'm not sure. But so we got to try it. And this was a game we played at the end of the night. So those are always like, because, the brain's not in full capacity. And so it kind of, I think it underwhelmed us a bit. And I don't know if it's just because we were tired, because it's really cool. Like thinking about it after that, I'm like, oh, that actually was so cool. But leaving that night, we were like, oh, it was good. But then, I mean, of course, when you think about a game at night and dream about it, like, that there's something. It's good. So
Yeah.
Looking forward to actually getting this one and we get to play it again. But what you're these little elves, I believe, and you are building all these like wood pieces. But that's the theme behind it. So you have this little player board in front of you, and you have this like attic, and you have this place where you can put more helpers. You have this place where you can grow trees for wood. You can purchase more points with your blueberries, which is your money. That's your income is blueberries, which is so cute. And you have these worker placement spots that you go to, or not worker placement spots. It's an action dial, and you're choosing an action from this dial, which is really neat because you will take from one part of the pie and you will move it to the next part so that it will have different bonuses for other people if they want that action. So it may be in this juicy spot where it gives you all these different little bonuses plus what's on the tile. And you'll take it and then you'll move it to a spot that has nothing. So the person next to you who was planning to do that one, you're like, oh, sorry. But so what you're trying to do is it's a dice placement, I guess. Not dice placement. You're using these dice for different things. You're not placing them, but you use them to satisfy these contracts, and they have to be the exact number. So you start out with a 1, 2, 3 of a green, brown, and yellow dice, and you want to get more dice because certain contracts need higher ones. So you might grow some trees, which will, as soon as you grow a tree or plant a tree, you get to put a dice in there of a 1 pip, depending on the color. And then each round it'll grow 2 pips. So it'll just get more and more as the rounds go. Then you can harvest it at any time and use it for one of your contracts. You can use it to trade for different resources because you need these saws, because saws will split dice. So if say you had a 6 and you only needed like 3 2s, you could split that with your saw and you could have 3 2s. And then if you needed those for the contract, you're set. But you can also use glue, which you can combine dice together. So you can put a 2 and a 2 together to make a 4. So you're buying all these different resources, this glue and all these different things and so it's like manipulating the dice, but the theme of it is so cool because like it makes sense sawing the dice, like splitting it in half or gluing it together. It makes sense with the theme. And I think it's so cool. And then you want to build up these tools in your attic because they will give you all different types of bonuses if you connect them together, and it has kind of a cascading effect. If you keep building on top like a pyramid, then you get all the things underneath. The helpers are so neat because they will typically give you some income or some player bonuses. The contracts are really cool because they start in a certain place on the right side of your player board. If you don't fulfill it that round, it moves down. So you slowly get less and less points, and then you get to the point where you get negative points. So if you have a whole bunch of contracts, at the end of the game, these all move down. So you don't want to just grab a whole bunch and not be able to fulfill them. You also want to build up income. So you want to build up your blueberry income. And now I'm blanking what the other income is. I forget what it is, if it's wood, if you get more wood or something. But it's just got really neat mechanics. And Vladimir Suchy I've always wanted to love his games. And the only one of his that I've really liked so far is Underwater Cities. And now this one. So this one I think might surpass Underwater Cities for me, but I'm going to have to play it again, and I'm pretty sure it will. I really love the theme and just the whole mechanics of it. And yeah, that's my number 4, Woodcraft.
Neat. My number 4 is Pina Pirata. So this one was published in 2014. It's created by Donald X. Vaccarino, and it's a yellow game. And I mean, we bought this one, geez, like a few weeks ago, and we've played it so many times now, and it's just one of those filler games that's so easy to play that and my family love. So every once in a while I was like, okay, what to play next? And then Lily will kind of pull it out. I was like, well, we can play this one. So the artwork is adorable. This, honestly, to me, like it's Uno meets Flux, but with great artwork. And you have these animals in different pirate-like situation and costumes and stuff. And most cards are half and half. So you have like half that faces one way, the other half faces the other way. So the card could be a monkey or a walrus, let's say. So then you would have both on that card. And then you have the symbols in the corner so you could see what they are. And you all get your cards to begin with. You get one piece of the treasure map, and there's 4 pieces that you need to complete your treasure map. And you're trying to be the first one to complete your treasure map. And then and in order to do that, those treasure map pieces are also tiles, and on the back side they have rule changes. So you start with 2 kind of drawn up, and it could be like, okay, well, the squid are actually wild, so you can play a squid on any other type of symbols. Or if you play a turtle, the player to your left has to draw a card. Or, there's all a bunch of different things like that that's going to change how the game plays. So then you're taking turn and you play your card on what's there as long as it matches one of the new rules. So it's like, oh, okay, well, you've played a monkey and a rabbit. Well, I can play a rabbit, so I'll play my rabbit squid. And then you kind of keep playing. So now the next person could play a rabbit or a squid card. And there's a few cards that's just a one symbol on it, and it's like the full artwork. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to play my squid, and it's just a squid on there. So now the next person doesn't have the option. It has to be a squid. If you can't play a card, you draw a card. But the goal is to discard your card, be the first one to discard your card. Then you would draw 3 tiles of the treasure pieces. You would pick one to add to your map. You're going to pick one to add to the rule changers. So as you play, all of a sudden, like you have 6 different rules that's been changed that's kind of getting applied. And then the other one gets kind of discarded. And the first one that kind of discard their hand 3 times so they were able to complete the treasure map wins the game. It's a lot of fun. We play this one like all the time now. So that's my number 4, Pina Pirata.
Yeah, you got us hooked on that one too. It's a great filler. Awesome. My number 3 is Castles of Mad King Ludwig, the collector's edition. The original was made in 2014 by Tail Aspect. So I brought this to Kefcon because Bernie, a friend from Calgary, is wanting to back it on Kickstarter because they have just put it back out with another expansion. So he's like, can we try this? And I'm like, okay. So I had to drag my big, huge cube because it's a huge box.
Oh, right.
I'm like, okay, I'll take it. He goes, I'll carry it for you. If you bring it, I'll carry it. So I'm like, okay, I'll bring it. And I love this game, so of course I'm going to play it. So I brought it, and we played it, 4-player game with Ashley, Cherry, and Bernie. And it's just such an awesome game. I've talked about this before, but the production of this is unreal too. And the new expansion with the towers is so cool because if you've ever played this game, you are just building this crazy castle out of tiles. And every time you close off a door, you get points. So there's each different tile, there's 8 different types of tiles, and they all have different end bonuses. As soon as you complete them, they give you a different type of bonus at the end. Now the towers add a new one that let you take a whole scoring chip, and you get to choose from 2 and put it under your tower, and only you will score for it. Whereas there's these public ones on the board that everybody will score for, and depending who's first, second, third place. But this one, depending what place you're in, that's the points you'll get. Nobody else will score it. So it just adds more scoring, and it just looks so neat on your board because you have this huge, tall tower. And it also is a tiebreaker. If you are even with somebody, whoever has the tallest tower gets to win. So it's really neat. But Bernie loved it. He's going to back it for sure. and it's always goes over well. I've loved this game even when it was a cardboard version. It's still awesome. You have that version, but you have a cool 3D printed. Is it 3D printed insert?
Yeah, my friend 3D printed all, because this game, the original one, comes with a bunch of tiles loose in a box.
In baggies, and it's a huge setup.
But the setup is ridiculous.
And my version, the setup is so much easier because it's just, you just plunk them in there and they're all laid out already. And yeah, it's awesome. But that's my number 3. Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Great choice. My number 3 is Danger Park, created by Juno Nato and Ben Sobin, and it was published in 2021, and it's by Story Machine Games, which actually is the same company that did Sacred Rites, but it doesn't play similar at all. With this one it's really neat. Like, you are investors in this theme park, but it's falling apart. Everything is broken, and you're trying to collect as much money as you can before there's too many incidents and it gets shut down. And there's going to be, like, if one of the rides breaks, then that's going to cause an incident that kind of increase, like, and if you reach 9, you get shut down, right? But if you have like the visitors die, then that creates an incident as well. So you take turn kind of buying these different tiles that are the different rides you can do, but there's all have like danger level on them. And it could be that the people are getting sick and they're throwing up all over it, or it could be that there's a flood. It's a water ride, but it's flooding everywhere. Or it could be that, there's mechanical issues, or there's rats, there's pests on here, and there's rats getting around, and there's all sorts of different type of dangers that's happening with these. And then on your turn, you have to roll the dice, and as long as you roll higher, so if I have 3 people visiting my ride, I would roll 3 dice. And if I have 2 dangers on that tile, I have to roll 3 or higher. I have to roll higher than what the danger level is. So I would roll. Now, if I roll higher, then that one is good. They stay. If it goes lower, then one of the visitors leave. And they leave my ride, and then there's different exits, so they would leave and go into another ride. But it's always the best visitor that leaves first. And then you're going through kind of doing that with all of the ones that you have, because you always purchase a new ride each round. So you've purchased a new ride, it come with 2 visitors each time, and then you kind of test your visitors and then see where they go. And then at the end of that round, you collect money for everybody's on your rides, riding your rides. And you're trying to collect as much money as possible before you get shut down, right? And then, so it's area control in a way, because then all of a sudden they're leaving. So, oh, great, now they're going. So, well, and you kind of want to try to build your ride so while they can leave, but they still end up on one of my rides. So that'd be okay. It's like, oh, no, they left, and now they're on Lee's ride, so he's going to get the money. And, so it's cool. Really interesting. The artwork, is cute. You have the trays. They have all these neat trays with lids. The whole setup of this game is really good. But you have, the tray, and then you put the card thing that has, the carnival. And, it looks super cool. And it was a lot of fun. But, yeah, a lot of take that a little bit to it, because you're trying to steal the visitors from other people's rides so that you collect the money and not them. Or you're trying to send more danger, because... if you ever get either 4 different danger tokens or 4 of the same danger on your ride gets shut down. So then you flip it over, and then it's great, now I don't have that ride anymore. And then everybody that was there kind of goes away to another ride. So it was neat, though. We really enjoyed that one. So that was my number 3, Danger Park.
Awesome. Yeah, I seen pictures of this you had posted. I'm like, that looks so cool. I want to try that one. All right, my number 2 is, this was my most anticipated game of this convention, and of coming out of Essen, can wait for this game. This was called Tiletum, made in 2022 by Simone Luciani and Daniele Tassini. These are 2 of my favorite designers. These are 2 of the Italians that some of them will, work with others or alone or different things, but I just love these guys. And this game, the mechanics in it are so cool. The board doesn't look all that beautiful to some. It's pretty beige, and it's a map, of like Europe, you know, so it's like, oh really, another map of Europe. But the mechanics are really cool in this. So it's a dice selection game. Now you have this wheel and you have all these different colored dice, and you'll roll them, and I think it's 3 per player plus 2, I believe. So you put them around this wheel, and how you choose these actions is you are going to pick a dice. Say I chose this 6, but now whatever color it is, I'm going to get 6 of that resource. So you're either going to get food, iron, wool, or gold. So there's 4 different colored dice. Oh no, there's one other thing. Stone, I think. Stone, steel. Yeah, because there's like 3 grays, which is weird. Because you're like, which gray is this? That's part confusing in the game. But anyway, so there's maybe 5 different colors. So you'll get that much resource, but the action will be the reverse pip of that. So if it's a 6 on the dice, that means I'm only getting one action, towards the action I'm doing, which is on the wheel. So it could be like an architect movement. So you all start in Tiletum, the city, or Tiletum, I think you say it. And you can move these little merchants around, or you can move your architect around. And so architects move around the board because you want to build houses on different cities. And building the houses on these cities will help you perform the show that there's 4 rounds, and there's 4 different, or not show, I guess, festival or something. Now, they all have different requirements, and every game is different because you change up the locations and you change up what is required of these festivals. So if you haven't built a house there, then you just have to get there with your architect, I believe, or your merchant. Now I'm getting them mixed up, and if you're there at the end of the round, you'll get to score for this festival. So now that's one action. Another action could be that you are moving your merchant around. And so moving your merchant around allows you to place these pillars. Now placing the pillars and gives you end game points with the houses. You multiply however many pillars you have out with how many houses you have out. That's one of the end game points, and it's a big point, so you need to get both out in places. The other thing you can do is you can grab these little upgrade tiles at each of these locations. Now, all these things are taken on action points. So like I said, if you had a 6 dice that you chose, then you only get 1 action point. But if you chose a 1 dice and only took 1 resource, you'd have 6 action points to spend, and you can move around your things or place houses or columns or take the tiles. Now there's also actions where you can get these people, and you want to get these people because you want to place them in your they're not your houses, they're just these sections on your boards where you can place them, and you have to put the same type of person in each row. And once you've completed that, you get another house. And if you've put in a crest at the bottom, you also get some other bonus, which will give you better actions. So it's just, there's a lot going on, but it's a lot of just planning and trying to figure out, okay, I need to get a lot of people in here so that I can get more actions early in the game, so that every time I choose something, I'm getting extra actions. There's one thing I don't like about this game, and I played it right after Dinogenics.
Oh no.
It's the last player again. It's terrible. You don't even get, like, you know how you go around, first player gets 2 coins, and then 4 coins, and then 6, and then the last player only gets 1 extra coin, that's not the big deal. There's this track again, and you start at the bottom and you end at the bottom, and you have to climb your way back up. That's the only thing I don't like in this game, but I believe it is just best not to play this at 4 players. I've watched tons of videos, and they all recommend don't play it at 4, don't play it at 2, play it at 3. It's an ideal 3-player game. So that is how I will be playing this game, is at 3. But everything else in it is just awesome. It's tons of different, I'll say combos, but only because, you'll need to go here to get this tile. This tile will give you an extra action, or it'll give you more points to get your merchant around so that you can score that festival. But you need to build these for the festival. You need to, there's contracts as well that you need to fulfill. Just all kinds of things going on, and I really liked it. But just that one little thing that That's why it's not in first place. It's in second, and that's my number 2, Tiletum. Tiletum, I believe is how it's said.
Nice. Yeah, my number 2 is 8-Bit Box, and then we played the Outspeed. Now, this one is a yellow game. It was published in 2018, and it's created by Frank Crichton and Grégoire Largy. And this one looks cool. It looks like a video game. The box looks like a video game, and then you open it and you have this other little box. It's in there that's the console of a video game, and there's like 8 different, is it 8 or 6? I think 6. 6 different cardboard controllers, and there's 2 rotating dials or 3 rotating dials on it, and then it's like everybody gets a controller of their color, and then like you can rotate the dials while you play, like you kind of do your action on there as you play the game. So the game comes with like different cubes, different components, and then these components are going to apply to the different games that you can play with it. And then the other section in the box, it has 3 different mini games that you can play with. So we ended up playing the Outspeed one, which is a car racing game. So everybody's got their controllers. You have 2 cardboard tiles like on the table. That's your race. And you're kind of pod racing, or like you have these little aircraft type racing or spacecraft racing. And then you start with your thing. So you put that on the starting line. And then you will flip a card, and the card will have like, okay, well, you can take option blue. Well, I think it's red or blue, green, and yellow, something like that. Anyway, so you kind of say, okay, well, I want to do, and it says, now this one, you need to spend this much in fuel, and that's what your cubes are. They're the fuel. You need to spend 1 fuel, but you will move forward by 3. Or this one, you will just collect fuel if you go into like the middle option. Or the third option is you're going to pay however many people take option 1 in fuel, but then you will move 5. So, okay, well, I'll do that. Maybe nobody, but then everybody else took them. We're playing 6 players, so then I'm paying 5 fuel to move 5, but whatever. And then so you kind of select which one you want to activate. Then you all reveal your controller at the same time. Then you do the action, spend your fuel, move your pod, like your aircraft or whatever, and then you kind of moving. But if somebody ever gets so far ahead that they are about to move out of that tile, then you would take the third tile and bring that out, and it bumps out the last tile. And if you were on the last tile when it got bumped out, you eliminate it from the game. So it's like a race where there's elimination, and also the first one to make it to the finish line can both trigger a win. So then that gets discarded, and then there's only those people left, and then you kind of keep going. It was so neat. You just kind of flip a card each time, decide which of the action you want to do. I lost because I ran out of fuel. Everybody else lost because Patrick booted them off the track, right? So, but it was neat. It was super cool. There's 2 more mini games that comes with it that we haven't played yet, and then there's more that you can purchase as well for this one. But that was super fun, and that was my number 2, 8-Bit video Outspeed.
Outspeed? Yeah,
this was the Outspeed one from the 8-Bit box.
Not Yellow Speed, Outspeed. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where I heard yellow. Okay, cool. All right, my number 1. Now, this was a game I brought. It was a Kickstarter I had just received. I had tried it solo, and I was looking forward to playing it with others. I had been signed up for the game Bonfire, and I had walked over to the table. A guy came up, and he was like, oh, I'm playing this game. And the guy's like, oh, no, you were on the waiting list. And I'm like, you know what? You take my spot. My friends are kind of waiting for me to finish this game, so I'll go play something else with them. He's like, oh, okay, thank you. So I just stood, I got them to set up the game I'm going to talk about, but I sat and watched the play or the teach of Bonfire just to learn it.
Yeah.
And because I just want to know how to play it. And then I walked back over and we played Encyclopedia. Made in 2022.
I've heard lots about this one.
Yeah. Made in 2022 by Eric Dubois and Olivier Mellison. This one is awesome. I just love it. I'm so happy that I like my new Kickstarter I got, because that's always nice when you realize you love it. It is a game. So they also made the game Museum. They took some aspects from Museum, which I really like. It's just a card tableau builder basically, but this one is that plus more. It's not so much a tableau builder, but it uses some of the card mechanism in them. But what you're doing in this game is you are a explorer, and you are learning about all these different types of animal species, and then you are publishing them in like a journal kind of thing. I think that's how the theme goes. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you start with a bunch of, or not a bunch, you start with a couple cards, and they may be of different species, but they could be the same color. There's different colors of cards and different species of animals. There's also a little expansion with mythic animals in them, which is really neat. But anyway, so you start with these animals, and then on your turn, you all roll 4 dice, and then you will place them in your action spots. And there's 1 spot that gives you no bonus and 3 that give you different bonuses. Now, those aren't your dice. They're just dice for everybody. You may be able to just use yours, but someone else can take one of your dice at any time. If they take one from one of the spots that gives you a bonus, you get that bonus, and that's it. You can take from them, and so on. So you take these dice and you put them on these worker placement spots. There's spots that will give you more boats, which help you when you're exploring. There's a spot where you can get first player and get $5, which is, I went there a lot just to get, mostly to get money, but then I always ended up being first player, because if you're the first one to go there in the round, you get the first player. You can go and get these specialists, which reminds me of Museum, where they're just these little cards that you put on your tableau, and they will give you either an immediate bonus or they'll give you a player power throughout the game, as long as it's face up. You can keep getting more, and if you get more than 4, you have to put some face down. Now, having them face down still will count at the end for the collection. You won't get the bonus of them anymore if they're face down, but I'll explain the collection in a minute. Another place you can go is to get more animal cards. So you will place a dice there, and if you happen to, you have to choose the color that you have put down. So if I put a red dice, I need to choose a red card. Now I can use these ships that I've gotten in the other spot to change the color of the dice if I want. But if I, depending what number I've put down, I'll get to move up on this little track on my board, and I can't remember the name of it now. I want to say reputation track, but it's not that. And moving up on this track, every couple spots gives you either money or more ships, or it might give you a free specialist, or it might give you a free animal. So you want to move up this track lots, because once you get to the end of it, you get this red seal. And this red seal is really cool. It's worth 4 points at the end of the game. You can just trade it in for $5. You can use it to add 5 to your expedition, which I'll explain in a minute. But so you're getting all these cards at this location. The next location is where you're going to explore, and you will place a dice. It has to match the color of the exploration. And if you're the first one to go there, you get 3 reputation points, I'll call it, and you get to move up on your track. But then you are going to use points to put these little cubes on your animals. Now they have 4 different spots on each animal, and they have 4 different icons. So if I have, say, 3 red cards, and some of them match icons on there, I can go there and say I put a 6 down, I have 6 points automatically that I can spend on putting these cubes. So it's me studying these animals. So I'm studying these animals by putting these cubes down, but if I had a matching icon on the animal that I'm basing this on with other ones, I can also explore and learn about them. Now I need to use more. You can only have a 6 dice max, but you can use money, you can use your ships, you can use your red seal to up it by the red seal will give you 5 more. You can spend a coin to add another one. You can spend the ships to add 2. So you can, use all these different things and say I have 20 points, and now I can put a whole bunch of different cubes on these animals so that I'm learning about. Then, on the next spot is where you're going to go and publish them. It's a publication, I believe it's called. I might be confusing that with another game, but it might be a different word. So now what you're doing there is you are taking the cubes and you were placing them on these different spots with the icons. So say I had covered up all these wave spots on 3 animals. I can take all 3 of those, place them on the waves, and each wave might give me 6 points. So I would get 18 points right there just for doing that. And then those cards will flip over, and they will be part of my set collection at the end of the game. At the end of the game, you are going to set collect like each color with your specialists. So if I had 3 red cards here and 3 red specialists, I'd have 6. And they all give you a certain amount of points. Like 1 will give you so many, 2. And the more you get, the higher points you get. So it's just neat that way. There's also, with your cubes on the bottom, however many, you try to get multiples on each of them because they will also score as well. So it's just a real high scoring game, and you don't really know till the end. I mean, you can see people's cubes if they have a lot on some of the higher points. You don't know what they collected because they're flipped over, and their specialists might be covered up. So it's one of those games which I like, where you can't really tell, oh, they're really winning and, I don't have a chance. You really don't know until the end of the game, until you score everything, which I love. And it just kind of has a cross between like Wingspan, Museum, and I don't know, there's some other game it crosses with, but it's just really neat, and I love it. And it's my number 1, Encyclopedia.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard of this one lately, and it sounded really interesting. Mm-hmm. My number 1 from the weekend is Ravels, and that was published in 2021. It's created by Adam McHingham and Jordan Miller, and it's an XYZ Game Labs game. And this one is such a neat game. Now, the deluxe copy come with like these really like hefty little bowls that you would put your yarn in. And so mine are little plastic ones that doesn't have like the little cutout. Like those yarn bowls that have like the cutout that you would put your yarn in. Yeah. So the deluxe one has that. Mine are just the regular plastic little bowls, but everything else looks so amazing. So I wonder if I'm like in an in-between or if this is what the base game is like. But I suspect this is just what the base game is like, and it's amazing. The insert as well has one of those neat insert with the lid that keeps everything kind of organized. But in this one is you're knitting different projects, and you're trying to make these different items, and then you can actually group these items to do orders that would give you more points. And it's whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. And you have your own player board, and you have your little bowl that you would keep your yarn with. So you start with one of each color, and you all have like the recipes on the bottom. So the mittens, to make mittens, you need like 2 different colors, or to make a scarf, you need 4 different colors, but depending on the recipe you got, which colors you need. Now you can learn a recipe, pattern, I mean. So you can learn a pattern where you can flip that over. It's going to be worth points. But now that you know this pattern, you can also make it in any color combinations that you want. You can make an Afghan, but that one's going to need to be 5 of all this orange color or whatever, unless you learn the pattern. And you can, so it's neat. So on your turn, because you have this big wooden token that will represent the character you've selected. And there's 4 different actions you can do, and you'll have your wooden token and be like, hey, I'm going to do this action. So I'm going to the market and I'm buying yarn. And you get to draw 3 or 4 different yarn cards. So then you like have the market that flips over. So could be this one is 2 orange. So you would draw 2 orange yarn. And then this one is 1 yellow. So you take 1 yellow, and this one's a purple and a green. So you take a purple and a green, and you put all of that in your bowl. So now you have this yarn to do your project. When it's your turn again, you can't activate that same action again because you're already on it. So you're going to need to move your wooden token on one of the other actions. So you can either go where you're going to start making your project, and then this action will allow you to make 2 projects. Or you could go down where it allows you to go to the market for less and do 1 project. Or you could go to another one, then I forget what the other one is. So you have to change the action that you do each round, because it's covered up and you got to move to a new one. And you're trying to do these projects and make these products with the yarn, but then at the bottom there's these different orders. So this one wants 2 teddy bear and a scarf, and if you do that, it's going to give you 15 points. While a teddy bear on its own is worth 4 points and a scarf is worth 2, so then it's worthwhile to do that order. But everybody else has access to the order, so maybe you're doing your items, and then all of a sudden the person's like, okay, I fulfilled this order. It's like, darn it, I was about to do that one. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, like, what else could I do? Like, so there's all of that you're doing as well. Now, at the end of the game, whatever you have left in yarn is going to be negative points. You don't want to be collecting too much yarn than what you need. And there's also special projects that's going to come up. They're going to be worth more points, but they're going to take a lot more yarn to put together. But each character has like a special project that they like to do. So maybe it's an infinity scarf. So if I do the infinity scarf, because that's my favorite project to do, I would get a bonus 5 points. It's so cute. It's such a neat game. It's fairly straightforward and simple, but it's a fun one. And that was my number 1, Arch Ravels.
Awesome. Well, at least you got a good weekend of playing games.
Oh, I played tons. And that was the one thing that was great with my family. They played a ton of games. I think we played 28 different games.
Awesome.
And we got, 28 different plays, like 18 different games, but we got a bunch off the shelf of shame as well, right? So
that's awesome. What a great family.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Perfect. So now next week is going to be episode... Sorry, I can't read 45. What you're saying there. Oh. Episode 45. And it's going to be game gift guides. So these are the games that we recommend for gift giving because Christmas is coming. Now, I also want to bring up, that we're going to be doing our top 50 games of all time on our 50th episode. That's when we're going to be starting it. So that's coming up. Now, Carla, you kind of mentioned that. We're really excited. I haven't done this yet. It's going to take forever just to go through the whole pub people for like your top 50 games of all time. Yeah. But we decided on 50th episode, we're going to be starting our top 50th game of all time. And we're going to do that for the, 5 episodes. So we'll do 10 each episode. Mm-hmm. So that's super exciting to do that. I have a feeling we'll have a very different list, me and you.
Oh, yeah. I think so. Maybe in the 50s we might have some crossovers, just not a whole ton probably.
Maybe on our 100th episode we'll do a top 100. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But can you believe we're almost on the 50th episode already?
I know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we have so much more to talk about.
Yeah, we haven't really, I keep thinking, this one, and this one, and this one. So we have like a waiting list of topics we want to cover. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying doing this. Yeah. Also, big announcement, we now have a Discord channel. So if you go on Discord and search for the Board Game Specialist, and we'll add a link to the notes of this episode as well. But we're on Discord now because you know what? It was so neat. Like every day, me, Carla, Ashley, and Cherry kind of text and message each other. It's message each other about board game stuff all the time. I was like, okay, we need to do this on Discord so we can actually chat with everybody else that's been listening to us as well, and just kind of get that going also, and kind of open that conversation up to the outside world as well. So, but like, oh my God, it's hilarious. Just the conversation we have. It's and we're a bunch of addicts promoting each other to become bigger addicts. So it's been entertaining. So we're sending our bad influence out to the outside world.
But the good thing is we'll share games kind of thing. We'll trade them, loan each other or play each other's, so we don't have to all get everything.
But we also say, okay, I'm putting an order. What you guys want? Yeah. Darn it, let me look. That happens as well. Yeah. And then Ashley is forever hunting down her FedEx delivery guy to it's been very entertaining. So it'll be entertaining to kind of see and share that on the Discord channel. So be sure to join us there. Now, before we end this episode, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at Board Game Specialist, all one word. And on Facebook, I have the page Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you?
So on Instagram, I am Mel's_boardgame_room. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. And I'm also on my YouTube channel. It's Mel's Board Game Room. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we're looking forward to the next episode, so we will see you then.
Sounds good. Thanks for listening.